Happy Tuesday, everyone. Today we're moving to our next track and field event, and that's going to be the starting blocks. The starting blocks are used for the hurdles event and then also the sprinting events. We're going to be going through 3 different sprinting drills today to work on our technique, and then we're going to be going through how to set up the blocks, and then also how to use the blocks to our advantage. Then we'll put it all together at the end, and we'll see how it goes. So before we get into using the starting blocks and setting up the starting blocks, we're going to talk about our acceleration and our starting sprint. And we're going to be doing that with 3 different drills. The first one is a lean, fall, accelerate. The second one is a staggered stance. And then the third one is a 3-point stance. In all 3 of these drills, we want to focus on 2 things. The first one is that we're going to start low and finish tall. And the second one is elbow to sky, thumb to eye. So pump those arms, elbow to sky, thumb to eye. All 3 of these drills are drills that you can do without a starting block, without a track. All you need is some sort of open space, and it would be helpful if you had a line as well, so you can use a rope, a string, jump rope, tape, anything till you have a starting line. The first one is the lean, fall, and accelerate. You're gonna get up to your line. Both feet are gonna be behind the line. You're gonna lean as far as you can until you have to take a step, and then you're gonna sprint out of that step from there. So lean, fall, and then accelerate. Here you go. The second drill that we're moving on to is a staggered stance. So using that same start line as you used for the lean, fall, accelerate drill, you're gonna put your dominant foot forward at that line, and you're gonna drop your back knee to where about your heel is. Because that will give you a good spacing of where you stagger your stance for your feet. Once you do that, you're gonna stand up. Now I have my staggered stance, and this is very similar to how my feet will be when I'm using the starting blocks as well. Okay. And then you're gonna start from there, stepping forward, driving through that back leg, trying to get a good, big first step. The third drill I want you to work on at home is the 3-point stance. So we're gonna do the same thing as our stagger stance, but we're gonna bring one hand down to the ground, right, because that's gonna be kind of simulating us using the starting blocks as well. So remember, the first thing you do is put your lead foot, your dominant foot, in the front at the line. Your back knee is gonna be about at the heel. Your non-dominant hand, the same as the back leg, is gonna be behind the line, and then you go up into a 3-point stance, just like that. Then from there, when I go, I'm really gonna try to use my arms. All right, so this arm is gonna fly backwards while this arm goes forward. So here, as I go to run. Now that we've gone through our 3 sprinting drills, we're gonna move into how to actually use our starting blocks. Okay, so with the starting blocks, there's 3 different pieces that you'll be setting up. One is the middle standard, and then the 2 foot pedals, one for your right foot, one for your left foot. Okay, but when we think about setting up the starting blocks, we're gonna talk about these 4 points, kind of remember how to do them. Okay. So the first one is behind the start line in the middle of the lane. So it's very important to keep the middle standard in the very middle of the lane. Our front pedal is going to be our dominant foot, so the one that you feel that you have the most power with. For me, it would be my right foot. It might be your left foot. And you're going to set that up with 2 steps from the start line. And we'll show you how to do this as we get through it. And then our back pedal is going to be our non-dominant foot. That's going to be 3 steps from the start line. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we have a comfortable angle in our foot pedals. And I'll explain that once we get them set up as well. All right, here we go. When we are setting up our starting blocks, the first thing we want to grab is our middle standard. As we look on the middle standard, there's different numbers on here to help us remember where our feet are going to go. And then on the bottom, there's spikes to make it stick into the track. So first thing you do is we're gonna find the middle of our lane, and we're gonna put our heel on the starting line. So heel's gonna go on the starting line facing the back opposite way down the track, because we're gonna be sprinting down that way. Okay. From there, I'm gonna grab the middle standard, I'm gonna put it right underneath my toe, and make sure that's straight down the middle of our lane. After we have the middle standard down the middle of our lane, we wanna make sure that we step where the spikes are to really stick it into the track, because we're gonna be using this to push off to get as fast as we can. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set up our front pedal. So our front pedal is gonna be your dominant foot. So for me, it's my right foot. So we did 1 foot for the middle standard. Now we're gonna do 2, or about 1 3/4 for the front pedal. So I have my heel on the starting line, and I'm gonna go 1 foot in front of there. So now I have 2 feet. I'm gonna put the pedal right underneath my toe. And make sure it's locked in. So that's our front pedal. So we have our front pedal, we're gonna move to our back pedal now. Grab our back pedal, this is gonna be my left foot. I'm gonna go to the other side of the middle of the standard. Put my heel on the line. Now I'm gonna do 3 steps. So 1, 2, and 3, right under my toe. Make sure it's locked in. Easy way to remember this, middle standard is 1 step from the start line. Front pedal, 2 steps, or like a step and 3/4 because you want it to be under your toe. And then back pedal is 3 steps, or basically like a step and, or 2 steps and 3/4. The last adjustment that you can make on the starting blocks is the height of the pedals. So how you do that is on the back, you can kind of pull this up and squeeze it so that you can move it up and down. A good kind of angle to think about is about 45 degrees for the front foot, 55 degrees for the back foot. It's really more how comfortable you are when you get into your sprint. And then you lock it in, make sure they're both locked in, and we're ready to sprint. Now that we know how to set up the blocks, we're gonna talk about how to use the blocks properly for our advantage so we get a nice quick push off into our start, into our sprint. So the first thing you're gonna do is set up your feet. So you wanna put your feet on the pedals. You wanna have your toes on the track. So toes on the track, but your heels kind of go over the pedal as well, depending on the size of your feet. Okay. The next thing is you're gonna be setting up your hands. So your hands, you're gonna put your fingers together like this, and your thumbs to the outside, and you're gonna be right behind the start line. As close to the start line as you can, but you can't be over the start line. So right behind it. Okay. And one thing you can do is, because this hand's gonna go back, you can kind of give yourself an advantage and already move that hand back a little bit before you get started. So it's a little bit staggered. Thumbs out, fingers together. So I have my feet, my hands. Then I'm gonna move on to my shoulders. So my shoulders wanna be over the start line. All right. As much as I can with a comfortable position, I don't wanna lean too much on my hands because I wanna have my weight back so I can push off my feet. I wanna have my shoulders over the start line. And then I'm gonna be bringing my hips up. And my hips, I wanna try to keep my back straight as I can, but my hips wanna be higher than my shoulders. And then you wanna have your weight kind of back on your legs so you're ready to push off the pedals. From there, you're gonna have a 50-50 push with both legs. So a lot of times you try to push off the back leg only. We wanna try to have both feet. It's about 50-50, give or take a little bit of a push off of the pedals. Hips up. Okay. When I push, I'm gonna take a big step forward, stay low as my arms go out. So all together, set up my feet, set up my hands behind the line, shoulders over the line, hips go up, and Well, that's all, class. We talked about the starting blocks today, and we talked about our sprinting technique as well. There are 3 main things I want you to remember out of today's lesson. All right, first one is we're gonna start low, stay low, and then finish tall. The second one is elbow to sky, thumb to eye. So really pump those arms. Remember, running is not all about our legs. You're gonna use our whole body. And the last one is make sure you have fun. I'll see you all next time.